Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Black Fire Rising. Black Fire Rising has an element to it that is activist. And tonight we are in for a treat because we have Professor Jimmy from the Congo to discuss what's going on in the Congo as we speak. Professor Jimmy is a well-renowned activist, scholar, math, science, and history professor, and he's here tonight at the Bole restaurant. The forum will include his address, where he will give us a slide presentation of the atrocities of what's going on with the politics of the Congo. So sit back, I would say enjoy, because activism is not always enjoyment, because these atrocities that's happening in Africa, just like the atrocities that's happening in America, not to that extreme measure, but when we consider kids being rolled up into mats and boys being killed, boys like Trayvon Martin, there's still injustice everywhere. So sit back and enjoy the presentation by Professor Jimmy, and we hope that you will become enlightened. It is the purpose of Black Fire Rising to enlighten, inform, educate, motivate, and transform your thinking. Get off the apathetic couch and become an activist.
And for those who want to contribute their thoughts or to follow up on this episode, how do they get in contact with you?
I can be reached at area code 404-512-7359 and our email at thomas.terry57@gmail.com. And let me conclude by saying this program is sponsored by WADU. WADU, the World African Diaspora Union, under the leadership of Minister Menali and Kofi Adji and Sharifa Ma'at. WADU meets every month, first Sunday, and you're invited to come to WADU if you like this program that you see tonight and join the worldwide revolution.
Yes, greetings. My name is Professor Ngemi, and we are here to talk about the genocide going on in the Congo. Many of you, maybe you may not know that since 1998, over 5.4 million Congolese have died. 5.4 million Congolese have died. So I want to just introduce you to the fact that as we are here today, in a part of the world where we live in, there's a genocide of over 5.4 million people, but yet not one country, not one government, not one big media outlet has called these killings genocide. And we are going to know why, and this is because the genocide in the Congo is about economics. It's about economics, and I'm going to read to you the names of all of the countries according to the United Nations investigations that are involved in benefiting from the slaughter of 5.4 million Congolese in eastern part of the Congo. But I want to share with you first what a reporter for Glamour magazine, Yves Ansler, who went to the Congo to investigate wrote in 2007. And this is what she wrote. By the way, you can always check this out if you go to the Glamour magazine website and look under Eve Ensler, E-N-S-L-E-R. And this is what she wrote after she returned from the Congo. She says, "I have just returned from hell. I am trying for the life of me to figure out how to communicate what I have seen and heard in the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo." And she said, "How do I convey these stories of atrocities without your shutting down, quickly turning the page, or feeling too disturbed?" She goes on, "How do I tell you of girls as young as 9 years old, raped by a gang of soldiers, of women whose insides were blown apart by rifle blasts and whose bodies now leak uncontrollable streams of urine and feces? I am going to tell you," she writes, "the stories of the patients that a Congolese doctor saves, these raped women of war who now become Alphonsine by the name, Nadine by the name, women with names and memories and dreams." She says, "I am going to ask you to stay with me, to open your hearts, to be outraged and nauseated as I felt sitting in Panzi Hospital in faraway Bukavu." Bukavu is a city in the province of Kivu in eastern part of the Congo. So this lady, she went and she witnessed, she saw these women whose genitals were blown apart by these murderers who, after they gang raped them, then take a weapon and shoot them through their genitals. So now, some of them lived to tell the story. So these are the women that she went and saw and talked about. So what is happening in the Congo? What's happening in the Congo is a genocide. And another news person who went to do an investigation in the Congo wrote for the Independent of London. His name is Johan Hari, H-A-R-I. And the title of his article was "How We Fuel Africa's Bloodiest War." Johan Hari wrote, he said, "The deadliest war since Adolf Hitler marched across Europe is starting again. And you are almost certainly carrying a blood-soaked chunk of the slaughter in your pocket. When we glance at the Holocaust in the Congo, with 5.4 million dead, the cliches of Africa reporting tumble out. They say this is a tribal conflict in the heart of darkness. And Johan Hari says, it is not. In other words, it is not a tribal conflict. The United Nations investigation found it was a war led by armies of business to seize the metals that make our 21st century society zing and bling. The war in Congo is a war about you. Why? Well, that's what we're going to talk about here. Because when the war in the Congo concerns you and me, and you know that it's about you, you need to know what about you that plays a part in what's happening in the Congo, in a genocide of 5.4 million people. Well, what you and I use today, a cell phone, an iPod, an MP3, laptop computers, all of these electronic gadgets are being made from a special metal that we didn't hear about 50 years ago. The name of it is Colombo tantalite, or in short, coltan, C-O-L-T-A-N. Coltan, that the metal that they use, is found about 87 of the world reserves right now is found in the eastern part of the Congo. So therefore, when you have a cell phone today, when you have an iPod, an MP3, a laptop computer, any of these electronic gadgets, you are carrying, as this newspaper a reporter wrote, you are carrying a blood-soaked chunk of the slaughter of the Congolese in your pocket, in our pocket, in our hands. Now, when you read about what's happening in the Congo, they tell you that, you know, there is a civil war, that they are Congolese or are fighting one another, or one tribe fighting another one. It is a lie. As this reporter wrote, he's an Englishman who went to the Congo investigating. In fact, he writes, he says, there are two stories about this, how this war began. The official story and the true story. So what you and I read in the paper, see on the news when they talk about the Congo, that is the official story, which is not the true story. Now, he writes, the official story is that after the Rwandan genocide of 1994, the Hutu mass murderers fled across the border into Congo. The Rwandan Tutsi government chased after them. But the person here reports it is a lie. In other words, it is a lie. The Rwandan Tutsi government did not go in the Congo to just go after the Hutu murderers. He writes, he says, the Rwandan government didn't go to where the Hutu genocidaires were at the first place. So they went to where the Congo's natural resources were and began to pillage them. They even told the troops to work with the Hutus they came across. Congo is the richest country in the world for gold, diamonds, coltan, cassiterite, and more. Everybody wanted a slice, that's why everybody invaded there. About it because the matrilineal system that on which the social system of Africa is founded, when the mother is the foundation of the family. Right. Very crucial. So she did not mention about his father, just the mother. His mother is a Tutsi. Let's go to the next one. Joseph, this is the Belgian foreign minister said that Joseph Kabila is a Rwandan subject. Rwandan subject. All of this was being published in Europe. So the African people were not privy to this, because in Africa, who's reading the newspaper? First of all, you're not going to get a newspaper from Europe in Africa, in most of Africa. You don't get it. Go to the next one. This is by Patrick Cocriamont. He's a member of Belgian Parliament. He wrote an open letter to the Congolese where he said, this individual, Joseph Kabila, is known by our Belgian National Intelligence Services as having Rwandan origins. Let's go to the next one. There's a guy by the name of Nkunda. Nkunda is what, those of you who follow the news, he's one of quote-unquote militia or rebel leaders in Eastern Congo. The 8 million have died in Eastern Congo. But Nkunda, they have portrayed him as being Congolese. But the Congolese people knew that he was a Rwandan Tutsi. He used to be in the army of Paul Kagame of Rwanda. So when they interviewed him in a radio that is broadcasted in his home country of Rwanda, Radio Bwiza, this is what was his reply. Well, if by Rwandan soldiers you mean all those who served in the Rwandan Patriotic Front, this is the political wing of Paul Kagame's party, and then in the Rwandan Patriotic Army, the RPA, that's the Rwandan army today under Paul Kagame, of General Paul Kagame, then the Congolese people have a very serious problem to solve, because their own president, namely Joseph Kabila, is not only a Tutsi as myself, but he's also a former RPF soldier as myself. They say, go fit. And so, Joseph Kabila, the guy they call Joseph Kabila, whose mother is Tutsi, his father also is Tutsi, he was in the army that invaded the Congo in 1996. All right? And so, the Congolese people know this, but remember, the invasion was done under the cover of the United States with support, finances, and therefore Rwanda, Uganda, and Burundi, when they went inside the Congo, they could do whatever they wanted to do. Nobody could stop them. In fact, even France, because France was a friend of Mobutu, tried to intervene, but America said no. And militarily, that time, maybe today with the China, it's a different equation. But whatever America says goes, as far as international affairs is concerned, at least at that time. Let's go to the next one. We'll skip that. Go to the next one. Now, during the elections of 2011, they had elections in the Congo. Then Etienne Tshisekedi, who's a Congolese, won the election. But Joseph Kabila or Hippolyte Kanambe, with his Rwandan name, they changed the results of the elections. So there was a Belgian journalist who went to the Congo to monitor the elections. So when he went back to Belgium, he went to a Flemish, a radio where they use the Flemish language of Belgium. It's almost close to Dutch. And so they were asking him in their language, how were the elections, who won the elections? Because they're saying Joseph Kabila won the elections. So he said, his name is Hippolyte Kanambe in Dutch. He was telling Belgians, because he is Rwandan. Thus, not only that Hippolyte Kanambe, also known as Joseph Kabila, did not win the elections, but Kanambe could not have won even if he was opposed by a dog with the Congolese nationality. And that's the guy's name. In other words, they did not vote for him. And this Belgian journalist said it, that because even the election of 2006, he didn't win, so they had to change the results. But because the United States was behind Rwanda and Uganda, and then Belgium, and then Tony Blair from England, they were supporting Rwanda and Uganda. In other words, because the multinationals that were funding everything that Clinton did, or Tony Blair did, or Belgium did, they were paying the money. As Susan Rice, who was then, she's our sister, let's call it that. But she worked for Bill Clinton, but this is what she said. She told Bill Clinton, she said, all we have to do is look the other way in the Congo. Let Rwanda and Uganda, let Paul Kagame and Mussolini try to take care of what's happening over there. All we need to do is look the other way. So that was what was happening then. Therefore, no matter what revelation came out, nothing was done about it. Now in 2011, of course, we don't have Bill Clinton anymore. We have now Barack Obama in the White House. All right? Okay, I'll quickly go to the next one. All right, now, here on the left-hand side, you have Laurent Kabila when he was young. On the right-hand side, you have Kanambe, Christopher Kanambe. Both were friends, and both fought against Mobutu. Now, after Kanambe died, then Laurent Kabila, he was a Muslim. He had 13 wives, 12, and then he took the mother of the young man in the middle that you know as Joseph Kabila, became his 13 concubine or wife, whatever you want to call it. So in this harem where they were living in Tanzania, Laurent Kabila had these 13 women with numerous children. Laurent Kabila had no ability to take care of all the children, so this child, Joseph, grew up by himself, and then he moved back to Rwanda, to where his parents came from. So he joined the army, he became an officer. So then when we were getting ready to invade the Congo, Rwanda and Uganda, they knew that when you look at the size, Rwanda goes inside the Congo 100 times. Rwanda is small, tiny. And if you put Rwanda and Uganda, they can go inside the Congo like 20 times. Therefore, they devised a mechanism by which they could control the Congo. So before even they invaded the Congo, they picked up Joseph Kabila because they knew that they used Laurent Kabila as a figurehead when they moved inside the Congo, to say that we are going to help Laurent Kabila remove Mobutu. So when they took over the Congo in 2000, because Laurent Kabila asked the Rwandans and Ugandans to go back to their countries, take the soldiers out, then they put that young man next to Laurent Kabila. They did that before because they knew that we need to have our Trojan horse next to Kabila. And it was in 1997 that they changed his name from Hippolyte Kanambe to Joseph Kabila. And they told Laurent Kabila, they said, look, this child grew up in your harem, so he's your son. Because we go inside the Congo, we don't want people to think that, he's just a stranger to you. Of course, Laurent Kabila, we're talking about a matriarchal system. His women are his wives, and therefore all the children are his children. He's responsible for them. They changed the name. But he did not know the plan that Rwanda and Uganda had. So in 2001, that young man in the middle killed Laurent Kabila, assassinated him. And then the Rwandan, the Ugandan, and the United States, at that time working with South Africa at the time, they put this young man, he became president, Joseph Kabila. But you can tell between Laurent Kabila on the left, Kanambe on the right, who does he look like? His face. Right, like Kanambe, that's right. Let's go to the next one. Now, here what I did, and this is in my book, what you have, this is Janet, his twin sister, they are twins. And this is the younger brother, Zoe, and the three of them now run the government in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And this is their father. Now you can look at what we call in genetics, we call the genotype. That means your physical features tell about the genes, whose genes do you have. So if you look at their genotype, their faces, eyes, ears, and you can see that these children are his children. Now this is Laurent Kabila. Again, is a young man, all right? And these are his biological children. Again, the features, when you see, you can tell that these children are his children. And there's no resemblance for these, or him with him, or these with Kanambe. Okay? Let's go to the next one. All right. And then in 2012, this guy, Francois-Michel Gonod, a French lawyer, says that right here, I'm going to cancel it. It says that in Kinshasa, that's the capital city of the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, all the diplomats refer to Joseph Kabila as le petit Rwandais, means the little Rwandan. So they know who this guy is, but outside in the world they present him as Joseph Kabila, a Congolese, the president of the DRC. But all the diplomats, they call him, refer to him as the little Rwanda, the petit Rwanda. Let's go to the next one. I'm going to skip that. The Independent of London, already in 2006, called what was happening over 10 million killed. British and American people reacted with a great national revulsion. Millions petitioned Parliament to act. And the Royal Albert Hall in England was packed out with mass meetings detailing the Congo's long nightmare. That was in the early 1900. That King Leopold Holocaust would not have ended if it were not for a young British citizen out of the Quaker movement. I don't know how many of you know the history of the Quakers.
No.
If slavery ended, it was due to them. They started this movement in England, partly. But this young man was a Quaker by the name of Morel. And he never been to Africa, but he's the one that started the movement because he was working for King Leopold II at the port of Antwerp in Belgium. But he was seeing the ships coming from Africa bringing tons and tons of rubber. But when they're sending ships back to Africa, to the Congo, all he saw being loaded were guns and bullets. So he started asking the question, well, what do we buy these rubber with? Because we're not even sending merchandise to exchange to buy. So we're only sending weapons. So he started getting news from American missionaries, one of them being a famous African-American missionary, George Washington Williams, who for the first time used the term crime against humanity, referring to King Leopold II. Went to the Congo, investigated, and discovered that King Leopold II has been becoming rich over the blood of the Africans. So George Washington Williams wrote to the President of the United States that King Leopold II ought to be taken to The Hague, to the criminal court in The Hague for crimes against humanity. So he was the first person who used that term that is used today. So therefore, this guy writes, he says that, well, his name is Johann Hari, a British, so he said, a century on, meaning 100 years later, today, the words and analyses of that great campaign still ring true. Joseph Conrad, that's the guy who wrote the book, anybody knows?
Oh yeah.
The Heart of Darkness.
That's right.
All right? It rings true because Conrad called what was happening in the Congo the vilest scramble for loot that has ever disfigured the human conscience. He said these words ring true for the Congo today. Today. He said words that would make a perfect introduction to the reports of the UN panel of experts. I wrote down up in parentheses some of these reports. Then he concludes by saying the generations living in the West today have said nothing, while the country has been reduced to near Leopoldian levels for desperation by the scramble for loot conducted on our behalf and for our benefit, on the behalf of the world today, not just the West, because even the Africans today use a cell phone. Africans today using a laptop. Cell phone and laptop is being made by using the new method called coltan, C-O-L-T-A-N, coltan. 80% of the coltan in the world are in eastern Congo, where over 2 million little girls and black women have been gang raped and mutilated. 8 million have died. So this British newspaper guy is saying that all this has been done on your and my behalf and for our benefits. All right? And not only that, if Rwanda and Uganda, these black people, African people, have been killing to get this coltan, the world has said nothing. Now, he was talking to his people in England, the West, but I'm going to put Africa there. Because African countries have said nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. While the millions of Congolese have died. Let's go to the next one. Skip that. It's the same thing. Skip that. Skip that. Roger Howard, skip that. Skip that. Okay. Who has been slaughtering the Congolese? I told you already. Now, by the way, Herman Cohen, if you don't know Herman Cohen, you got to know about this guy. He has business in Africa. He's one of the people who have been really controlling Africa.
Trojan.
No, he was no Trojan because you know he's the enemy already. The Trojan when you don't know that he's there.
But he's married to a black woman. That's a Trojan to go in.
My brother,
Yeah, go ahead.
Black man marry white woman. Now, by the way, this Jewish guy, he does not fear anybody. So he said outright what his folks have been saying in secret. He said the 1998 effort when they invaded the Congo, all right, to capture Kinshasa was not done by a Congo rebel group. It was done purely by Ugandan and Rwandan regular troops. Now, by the way, this is when Bill Clinton and them were covering up, saying that, no, Rwanda and Uganda invaded there to remove Mobutu. He said, no, it was not to remove Mobutu. And it was no rebels. They said there were rebels, that Congolese rebels were doing this. Then he says, in fact, there is not any real Congo rebel group. I therefore get very perturbed by the persistence of news agency reports that, quote, the Rwandans and Ugandans entered the war on the side of the Congolese rebels. This is rubbish. They, Rwanda, Uganda, and Burundi, with the backing of the Bill Clinton administration and many Western powers, entered the war and created the rebels. So whether you hear about what's happening now with M23 or CNDP or any rebel groups you hear in Eastern Congo, all of that are creations or inventions of the Rwandans and Ugandans. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. Go to the next one. That's it? Yeah. All right. I have to, there's something else that you don't have there, the pictures. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna, when we take a break, I'm gonna put the other, I'm gonna copy the other thing so we can show the pictures. But you can turn the lights on so I can continue first with the, this is the situation in the Congo, because the only thing that I want to show you now is the pictures. This is the situation in the Congo. Now, as we're speaking today, the situation has not changed. Now, the genocide in the Congo has been happening while African countries, all African countries, have not said anything. No African leader has stood up to say what's happening in the Congo is not good. We ought to stop it. At least say Rwanda and Uganda, you need to stop doing this. Not one African country has said anything about the Congo. But because of the fact that the Congolese people have said no, that we are not going to allow our country to be broken up. In fact, I need to stop there to give you a little story that when Bill Clinton was president, in his second term, he got a Jewish guy by the name of William Consteiner to come up with a formula of breaking the Congo up in 4 parts. Why? Because the Congo is as big as all of Western Europe combined. In other words, and if you can follow with me on the map, this is Western Europe here. All of this, from England to Spain and Portugal, to Italy, to Germany. If you cut this here, all these Western Europe countries combined is the size of the Congo. Or else, if you take the Mississippi River, going down here, let's say from here all the way down to Louisiana, and all of the United States east of the Mississippi River is the size of the Congo. And when you add to the size the resources that the Congo has, Europeans don't want to leave it stay as one. So Bill Clinton told William Consteiner to come up with a formula to break it up. And we found out in 2001, we started campaigning to convince Clinton to not do it because it's going to mess up the Congo. They ignored it. But the Congolese people were fighting in the Congo throughout the diaspora until Bill Clinton left and Bush came into power. Bush came into power. Now, at that time, they have started a government when this young man, Joseph Kabila, was made president in South Africa, in Sun City, where the Europeans and Rwanda and Uganda imposed him to become president in Sun City. And when my book came out in 2001, Genocide in the Congo, I sent a copy to Bill Clinton, I sent a copy to many leaders. Then ABC News was coming up with a documentary saying or showing that Rwanda was right to go inside the Congo to take over. The white guy, what's his name, who used to do 2020, and then he had the other, and so he showed the first segment 2 days before 9/11. On 9/11 was going to show the second cutting off of the Congo. Then when Bush took power, he nominated Colin Powell to be the Secretary of State. Now, we started a petition to Bush and to Colin Powell, which we were doing with Clinton. Nobody did anything. Then, because I knew a little history about Colin Powell, and I'm in New York, I did research. I found out, he's from the Bronx, went to City College, and I was working with Dr. Jeffrey at City College. So I did the research, got Colin Powell's father's and mother's names, and I wrote him a letter, and I told him that your parents were Garveyites. They were disciples of Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
Oh, they were.
And not only that, on the day that Colin Powell was nominated to be Secretary of State, he went to, was interviewed on ABC News. And he was asked a question, he said, look, President Bush is saying Africa is not important for the United States. And, so you are going to be, if you become Secretary of State, what are you going to do about Africa, since President Bush says that Africa is of no interest to the United States? The first 3 words out of Colin Powell's mouth was, I am an African.
Wow. Okay.
Go back. The first 3 words were, I am an African. I was shocked. I was shocked. I was watching, I was shocked. But I used those words in my letter saying that I heard you. On ABC News, you said you are an African.
Gotcha.
And I said, and your parents were Garveyite, who Marcus Mosiah Garvey said, Africa for the Africans. I said, so this guy that you have in the State Department that Bill Clinton put there wants to break up the Congo. I said, check the map of Africa. Remember that in 1884, Africa was not partitioned along tribal or kingdom lines. No, I say, if the Congo goes, the whole Africa goes. Because Congo is bordered by 9 African countries. North, south, and on the east side, even on the west, with Congo, Brazzaville, and Angola. So I say, so you need to make sure that this war stops, because at that time, the official armies of Rwanda and Uganda were in the Congo, killing. So in 2002 and 2003, not only Colin Powell fired the guy, the Jewish guy, William Consteiner, but also he made Rwanda and Uganda take out of the Congo their national armies. So that kind of brought down a little bit the slaughter of the Congolese. But since then, it has been continued slaughter, continued gang raping, continued killing. It has never stopped. And because Joseph Kabila is in Kinshasa as the president, he never asked Rwanda and Uganda to leave the Congo, Eastern Congo. He will fly, go over there, meet with Paul Kagame, with Museveni, knowing that Rwandans and Ugandans are the one killing. It's like President Bush going over there to meet with Osama bin Laden while the Arabs are killing over here. Right? So he meets with them. And this has been going on unending. So when Obama came to power, we continued to petition him, to write to him. Of course, with Obama, we had hope. Because, follow me carefully now. Write down your objections and everything. But watch me. I told you that no African president has ever said anything about the Congo. I want you to hear me. But when Obama became a senator, a junior senator, a freshman, within his first 3 years, he wrote a law to stop what was happening in the Congo. And this law Obama wrote, it says, the United States has the power to train Congolese to go to Eastern Congo and kick out all of those who are killing and raping in the Congo. While he was a senator, again, no African president or country, even while I'm sitting here, has stood up to denounce what's happening in the Congo. So that when he became president, I worked for Obama's campaign, I voted for him. In fact, in 2008, they interviewed me, MSNBC interviewed me. Why I did so, I said, because coming from the Congo, I believe with what he's done, he's going to bring a stop and bring peace and order in Africa. Wow. It hasn't happened.
Nope.
Right? Now, I am a historian, I'm a scientist. I think about things, as Brother Menelik said, think. Now, before I tell you what I think, I'm going to tell you the change that has taken place. When Obama became president in his first term, well, I know everybody knows he went from being a senator, from becoming president.
Yeah.
The administration before him was Bush's administration, 80 years of the Republicans. So who does he use in his administration? He went to fish from Bill Clinton's administration. And I want you to think with me. So that everybody he put in his administration had worked with Bill Clinton. I was here when Obama was president. I came here to give some lectures. I met with some of the brothers here and with Brother Menelik. What's the brother who received that at his house where we had lunch with Joe Beasley? Yeah? Joe Beasley, that's right. I met with them and we spoke to the brother, the reverend who helped Obama swear. Right. And we said that, and I told them, I said, we got to insist that the person who's going to be Assistant Secretary for Africa must be a black person. Yes. And they insist on that, who Barack Obama is going to pick a brother by the name of Johnny Carson, who had been an ambassador to Africa, 2 or 3 countries, under Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Make him Assistant Secretary for Africa.
Yeah.
And who does he put at the United Nations? A sister,
Susan Rice.
who had dealings with Africa. All right? Now, and guess what? Nothing was done to stop what was happening in Congo. You know why? Because Susan Rice was a friend with Paul Kagame and Yoweri Museveni, the 2 presidents of Rwanda and Uganda who were killing in the Congo. So Susan Rice told Obama that Rwanda and Uganda were the best qualified people to stop what was happening in the Congo. It never stopped. Johnny Carson, a brother, was still doing the bidding of Bill Clinton.
Of course.
And we've been putting pressure, campaigning. And so during Obama's second term, what he did was change the entire foreign policy staff. Because one of the things we kept telling him about Johnny Carson is not doing the work. Because they're still supporting the genocide in the Congo. Susan Rice. In fact, Susan Rice, after the Republicans wanted to get her for Benghazi, the Africans, we wrote, and the New York Times in 2009 put out all this information about what Susan Rice was doing for the continued rape and killing in the Congo. So that Obama, well, in the State Department, Hillary Clinton left. Hillary Clinton went to the Congo and told the Congolese, say, if you want us to help you, you need to forget your recent history. Hillary Clinton left, John Kerry became Secretary of State. At the UN, Susan Rice was removed, was replaced by Samantha Power, an Irish woman who wrote a book on genocide, almost like mine, and she wants to stop genocide. At the State Department, where he put another black person, but this time it was a sister from Louisiana by the name of Greenfield, Thomas Greenfield. You can see her. And in the Congo, there was a guy by the name of Roger Meese, who had businesses in the Congo, and who actually helped Joseph Kabila to falsify the results of the last elections. When Obama removed him, he cried. He said, I would like to work in the Congo. They told him, no, you cannot work in the Congo anymore. So he was removed. They put in a German who also had worked in the area of genocide by the name of Kobler, K-O-B-L-E-R. Then there was another guy who was overseeing the United Nations forces in the Congo by the name of William Swing. He has also businesses in the mining in the Congo. He was also removed, replaced by Mary Robinson, who used to be president of Northern Ireland, prime minister. So with this new team, we continue to pressure them. My brother was just telling me about today, M23, which is the latest militia that was killing and destroying in the Congo, is no longer there. He almost pushed out. This past Wednesday, they took the Congolese forces working with the forces of Tanzania and South Africa. So from last Friday, not this Friday, the Friday before, like this past Friday, these forces fought off and pushed M23 out where they ran both in Uganda and Rwanda. But it could not have succeeded if John Kerry did not tell Joseph Kabila that this time you are not going to give the order for the Congolese army to stop pursuing these militias. Because that's what Joseph Kabila used to do, the Trojan horse. Every time the Congolese are winning the battle, he says stop. Yeah. He will stay pull back. Because, his so-called commander-in-chief, they have to do it. If they persist, he will cut off sending them food, munitions, and everything else so they can starve. So they have to stop fighting. Not only that, Friday before the battle started, if you go to the internet, you read the British, one of the British newspaper revealed this, that Friday, both John Kerry and the British foreign minister called Paul Kagame. They told him that this time, you're not going to send your troops inside Eastern Congo to help your militias. Keep your troops out. So that Paul Kagame had 5 brigades of his army waiting on the border to enter Eastern Congo. But because America and England said you cannot intervene this time, it did not happen. So that things are changing, but they are changing because people are persisting in the campaign to tell Barack Obama to do something, though he does not say it publicly. Though he does not reveal publicly what he's doing about Africa or in terms of the Congo, but his people are working. How many of you have heard of Dr. Mukwege? Anybody has heard of Dr. Mukwege? What?
No.
What's the proper spelling of his name?
Mukwege. He has been here in Atlanta to receive prizes because this is the Congolese doctor who has been sewing, literally sewing the women that are destroyed in Eastern Congo.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Mukwege, he has received any prize all over the world that you can call. I mean, president, prime ministers, everybody has seen this man. In fact, Rwanda attempted to kill him. They ended up killing his bodyguard. And he was saved, and when he was saved, he came out here, met with him in New York. But he said the women in Eastern Congo said he must go back. He said, we want our doctor back, women in the village. They said, if he doesn't come back, we are going to go and get him. They will go and collect pineapples and sell and set up money in a place where they say we want to collect enough money so we can bring our doctor back. Because he had to run out of the Eastern Congo. But because these women wanted him to go back, this man decided to go back where they tried to kill him. But when he went back this time, he can't stay in his house anymore. So he sleeps in a hospital where he have these women. So the women have become like his bodyguards.
Wow, that's cool.
But the change that has happened, with Barack Obama's administration is that John Kerry now has given the order to the UN force in Eastern Congo that every time this doctor wants to go out, they must escort him.
That's good.
So that's why he was able to go back, continue to do the work and come out. I met with him last Monday, and Tuesday he was in New York City. So the genocide hasn't stopped yet, because these militias, while they're going out, they may come back in, or they may change, metamorphose into a different name or a different militia. What needs to happen in order for all of this to stop is this, that Joseph Kabila must go. Because he is the agent who is the head of the government. As long as he's still there, he and Rwanda and Uganda can come up with a different scheme. Because these 16 years that this has been going on, what they have done is they have taken Rwandan and Ugandan forces and infiltrated them throughout the Congolese army. And the security apparatus of the Congo, so that even if Joseph Kabila goes, they're going to have somebody who can still help maintain the presence of Rwandan and Ugandan throughout the Congo. So that Brother Menelik forgot to print these petitions. I have 2 petitions, one that is going to Barack Obama, the other one to John Kerry, telling them that we thank you for getting rid of M23. However, the problem with the Congo will not end until Joseph Kabila is gone. Because, brothers and sisters, just by the sheer superiority of size of the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the population, Congolese people could go to Eastern Congo and push out both Rwandans and Ugandans and bring peace to the Congo. But because all these 16 years, Rwanda and Uganda have had the superpower America behind them, and England and Belgium and these mining conglomerates, the multinationals, and Black Africa has kept quiet so that they've been able to do this over these 16 years. But when America decided this time, in England, that these militias are going to be fought off, they were fought off. When this time they told Rwanda, don't bring your soldiers in the Congo, they didn't come in the Congo. Neither did Uganda send soldiers. But our voices are important because we have to pressure the government. So those petitions will be there for you. Now, well, let me hook that up with Cheikh Anta Diop and Pan-Africanism, because that was the topic. Now, Pan-Africanism, I